Hello and welcome back. We've made it to almost the end of today's Ag 4.0 program for our second and closing keynote from David Messer of the Circular Opportunity Innovation Launchpad, also known as COIL. And this is an initiative that has grown out of Guelph Wellington's Smart Cities initiative, which dates back close to 10 years, and at the Our Food Future project. And there's so many moving parts and so many different initiatives under this one umbrella, and I'm really excited that David has chosen to spend some time with us today and provide information and insights and examples and also invitations to people in our community and people who are attending here today. So thank you, David, for joining. Really happy to have you here and happy to hear your presentation, and I will turn it over to you.
Really great to be here. Of course, Guelph and Wellington County are close neighbors to Grey County. And personally, my sister lives in Meaford, and my ex-brother-in-law runs the Flying Chestnut Kitchen in Eugenia. So I spent a lot of time up your way doing various food things. And so hopefully we can find some ways to collaborate in the future. So my name is David Messer. I work for the city of Guelph, and together with our colleagues from the county of Wellington, we've been working for the past 3 years or so on now 2 different circular economy projects, Our Food Future and the Circular Opportunity Innovation Launchpad. So just before I tell you what we're doing, there we go. Excuse me. Just to set some context, this has been discussed, I think, a little bit today, but the food system that we have right now globally is not very good. The food system is responsible for about 1/3 of global greenhouse gas uses, 70% of water use. 1/3 of all that food that we put all that energy into ends up being wasted. And in Canada, it's a little higher than 1/3. And then ironically, globally, there's billions of people who are food insecure. And within my own community of Guelph and Wellington County, we know that 1 in 7 people are food insecure. Not only that, there's all sorts of health issues coming from the food system, whether it be from lack of sufficient nutrition or overabundance. And we talk a lot about the climate crisis, but it's important to also recognize that we face a biodiversity crisis and a pollution crisis. And the food system is a big contributor to both of those as well, be it deforestation or ocean pollution. So if we're going to move by the end of, or by the middle of the century to a world of 9 billion people, there's some significant changes that have to happen to the food system. And the reason that the food system right now is so damaging is that it is designed around a linear economic model. And this is, frankly, our entire economy is designed around this model. We take natural resources, we make things out of them, we consume those things, and then we throw what we don't consume away. And when there's an abundance of resources and it costs nothing to throw things away, this is a very, very easy thing to do. But I don't think anyone would agree that this is a smart way to be. And I don't think anyone would agree with a growing world that this is a sustainable way for us to go forward. So what's the alternative? Many in the world are turning towards a circular economy as the solution. A circular economy differs from a linear in that it's learning from Earth's natural cycles. In the natural world, there's no such thing as waste. The output of one process is the input for the next process. And that's how we need to start thinking about our economy. To move to a circular economy, we really need to reconsider what we think of as waste right now and reconsider that as a resource that can be used to support economic growth, to support social benefit in our communities, and to strengthen our shared environments and limited natural resources. And this is very important when we think about climate. The Ellen MacArthur Foundation has done some really interesting work on this. And while about half of emissions in the world come from energy right now, the other half come from products, come from stuff, come from food, concrete, aluminum, things we make. And so if you look at the what was released yesterday by the federal government around climate targets, the big focus of that is on the 55% on energy and reducing emissions there. But if we're going to get to be a net zero country in a net zero world, we also have to tackle that other 45% of emissions that come from products. And within Canada, there's an opportunity for between 22 and 44% of emissions to be reduced by embracing circular economy approaches. And this isn't just an environmental issue. This is an incredibly huge economic opportunity that, frankly, right now, Canada, aside from Quebec, is missing. Accenture pegs this at 4.5 trillion. But if you look around the world, people are investing huge amounts into this. The EU has a $1 billion a year fund for circular economy innovation. China last summer announced $500 billion by 2025 to put circular innovation into their industrial parks. There's a huge number of venture capitalists and private equity funds looking to support circular innovation. We're talking to a number of them in Canada. There's one based in Montreal worth 700 million euros. And it's in euros because the opportunity, frankly, is not here. But there's tremendous benefit here. The Ontario Chamber of Commerce is coming around to it. Global multinationals clearly recognize it. So when we think of the future of our economy, we need to think the circular economy is going to be where we're going. And that's where we need to start thinking about investing our time and resources. So with that sort of context on circular economy, let me tell you a little bit about Guelph and Wellington County. We're close neighbors, so I'm sure you know some of this, but obviously Guelph and Wellington have a real focus on food. University of Guelph is a global leader in food and agricultural and agri-tech innovation. We have a big innovation cluster in town, and the county that surrounds Guelph is full of fertile and amazing and innovative farms. So a few years ago, the federal government launched a program called the Smart Cities Challenge. And they basically put it out to municipalities across the country to say, come to us with an idea of how you can take a particular amount of money, depending on the size of your community, and make yourself a smart city. There were a ton of different ideas. A lot of them were focused on, transportation and sensors in the roads and things like that. And Guelph came back looking at food, because that's kind of where our natural base was, and thinking about how can we use this to create a smart food community, really embracing circular economy approaches to deliver social, economic, and environmental benefits. And so out of 140 some municipalities that competed for that, we were one of 4 that were awarded the prize. And it was for this. This was our initial approach when we started. Our goals were and are to increase access to nutritious food by 50%, start 50 new circular businesses and collaborations, which we passed in our first year, which I'll talk more to soon, and then increase the economic value of waste by 50%. So from the start, this was a whole of community initiative. And I think this is one of the real amazing things that's come out of this that other communities can learn from. When this vision was being developed, we put out calls to everyone across our ecosystem in the region. Many people who have the same goals in communities don't work together and actually are forced by systems to compete. So we have 27 food relief organizations that, some of them didn't talk to each other ever before, and we're frankly a little competitive. We have business accelerators and innovators from 10C and Innovation Guelph and Launch at Minto and Guelph Wellington Business Center, who are incentivized, frankly, to compete for clients. And then we have all sorts of other sources of data and expertise from the city and county working together, from public health in our region talking to both. And these groups weren't necessarily working together. And so this project has been a really amazing opportunity to build these collaborations within our community and really create an urban-rural testbed for models that can grow and that can scale beyond. That's really the goal of our whole project is to test and build solutions here that can benefit other places across the country. So we started with that sort of smaller model and with 13 projects identified. And in 2 years, it's blown up into this. We currently have over 60 different projects going forward. We have over 1,000 different stakeholders who are working on various facets of this program. We're touching on things ranging from celebrating local food and supporting growers and processors to data and technology that'll support systems change. If you're interested in this, we put out a midterm report in January, which you can download at foodfuture.ca, that really goes into details on all of the different initiatives there, which I think is worth checking out if you're interested. And folks in the booth, this is where I'd love you to show this video.
In our food system, what we don't use is often thrown away.
It's bad for the environment, and it's not very smart business.
Meanwhile, some families in our community can't get enough good food to eat.
Imagine if we could move away from our existing linear food system and transition into a circular one that takes inspiration from nature's own regenerative processes.
Right here in Wellington County and Guelph, we're accelerating Canada's sustainable circular food economy.
Our food future is a bold vision to reduce our carbon footprint, cultivate innovative businesses, and provide enough food for everyone. In just a couple of years, momentum has grown quickly.
And we're just getting started.
Strange to do a presentation and not watch it.
Our food future is leading important research and programs to address food security in our community. With our many partners, we funded emergency food delivery,
Helped kids discover the joys of growing food,
and launched Canada's first nonprofit online Pay What You Choose grocery store.
Businesses across Guelph Wellington are bringing their circular ideas to life thanks to our Food Futures network of experts. From farms to retailers, startups to established businesses, we help entrepreneurs with the funding, coaching, networks, and tools they need to make big circular changes and make a difference.
Our food future is tackling the food waste epidemic. We're launching technologies and analyzing huge volumes of data to pinpoint and address the most critical waste hotspots in our food system. Farmers are pioneering more circular practices. We're helping consumers use more and waste less of the food they buy. And restaurants are serving Guelph Wellington's first circular meals.
Thanks to the power of partnership, our food future is building local circles across the food system. Businesses are creating unique new collaborations. Community social investment funds are gathering capital to drive real change. Local governments are embedding circularity in their master plans and business practices.
From the ground to the plate, if there's a place for circularity, this community is making it happen.
We're building Canada's national circular economy ecosystem and new strategies that make life better for our economy, for our planet, and our communities.
The circular food economy is happening now.
because Guelph Wellington is where food problems get solved.
Every action, no matter how big or small, is important.
Join the Our Food Future movement.
Your seat is waiting.
Thanks. So as you can see from that video, there's a lot going on and a lot of different stakeholders involved in our work. And then on this slide, you can see some of the metrics that we've been able to pull out just from these first 2 years of work. Close to 6,500 tons of food diverted from landfill. We have counts on GHGs, which is something that we're working and building, working with close to 200 businesses locally, and then turning that $10 million into close to $25 million in new funding that we've been able to leverage through our work, through our colleagues at University of Guelph and other partners as well. So I want to tell you a little bit about the start of our project, where we really had to focus on understanding our environment. Because when you talk about food, it's really interesting because cities don't really do much with food. We're responsible for the waste side at the back, but we don't provision it. That's all private sector companies or not-for-profits providing food relief. So we had a real opportunity at the start of our project to try and pull these data sets together to really get a holistic understanding of our food environment. Part of this was building the Food Future Data Hub, which has probably about 20 different maps on it, over 80 data sets, and a number of stories looking at a range of different food issues in our community from a business perspective or not-for-profit perspective or health perspective. And just want to give kudos to the previous presenters of the great work Grey County is also doing in this. I've looked at their site many times as we were building this out and trying to understand how we should be approaching this. So beyond just sort of opening data and putting open data on the web, we worked to understand how food moves through our region and where food waste really comes from. So this is what you call a Sankey diagram. It was developed for us by Dillon Consulting and an organization out of the Netherlands called Metabolic. And it really shows how food flows from production, processing, all the way down to household consumption. And if you see the lines down at the bottom, that is where waste is coming out of. So pulling this together took about 8 or 9 months and it included over 80 different data sets to really understand in deep details about this. And I know it's hard to see, but you can download the full report of this at foodfuture.ca/foodflowstudy. But just a couple things I'll point out from it. First, we recognize where the biggest food production is within our region, being fruits and vegetables and cereals and the like. And much of this goes to export and is not consumed within our region. And it's interesting when you look at this in terms of volumes, the largest emissions from our region, when you think about food waste, don't come from where the largest volumes are. They come from things like dairy and meat, which are way higher in emissions typically than fruits and vegetables, which are much higher in terms of waste volume. When we look at our households in number 2, we see households in our region waste about 1/3 of the food that they purchase. And then looking at number 3, well, it sounds like households waste a lot. The amount of waste produced by consumers is totally dwarfed by the amount of waste that happens upstream in the food system, specifically around storage and packaging loss, production loss, and then processing loss, whether it's planned loss, things like byproducts or unplanned loss. So this type of flow research is really important for helping us understand how we can intervene to get the biggest bang for a buck in terms of reducing waste and getting economic benefit from it. Oh, and I'll just mention actually on that, this was developed as much as possible with open data sets. And in our report, we've tried to make it clear and easy for other municipalities to follow this and create their own flow analyses for their own regions. We also did a lot of research on the human side. So public health and the Guelph Community Health Coalition worked for about a year on a food environment assessment report, understanding how people interact with food, understanding what are the sources of food insecurity, what are the places in our communities that don't have access to affordable, nutritious food, and what impacts that. They did audits of convenience and grocery stores. We purchased data for 5 years of purchasing from every grocery store across our region to understand eating habits at a much deeper level. So then as we think about increasing access to affordable, nutritious food, we really have a strong database to build from. We also did some work to create new sources of data. The city of Guelph for a number of years has had a program called the Civic Accelerator, where we put up seed money and then work with an innovative company to develop a new technology that meets city needs. Every municipality does waste audits every couple of years, and typically these are done manually on a small facet of households and provide really just a point in time audit of what people are throwing away. With this, we worked with a company called Eagle Vision Systems to develop an AI technology that's able to provide analysis of 5 different waste and contaminant streams for the green cart, the organic waste, and provide data in real time about where that waste comes from. Here you can see some of it working, and it works with about 90% accuracy at the moment. It's still in a bit of a proof of concept stage, but we can eventually link it with things like RFID tags and GIS systems to really get a much deeper understanding of when, where, and why food waste is coming out of homes in our region. So understanding the data piece, I'd love to run you through a few of our different interventions at the moment that are active. So thinking about our goals around affordable, nutritious food and food access, we've had some amazing innovative work around the food access space from our collaborators at the Seed. Earlier last year, they launched a program called Groceries from the Seed. This is an online grocery store that provides grocery delivery to the household in Guelph and Wellington County. And for every person that purchases groceries at full price, up to 3 families are able to get groceries at a discount of up to 60%. So this really flips the food bank model on its head and creates a sustainable social enterprise that makes food relief much more affordable and much more dignified for everyone. As part of that, the Seeds also launched a program called Upcycle Kitchen, where we take food that is reaching its end date, turn them into frozen meals, which are then sold through Groceries from the Seed or provided through a number of different food relief organizations. We've also funded companies to work with them to ensure that it's zero waste throughout the process. And another initiative that we're launching very shortly is called the Community Food Truck, which will effectively go down to business neighborhoods at lunch hours across the city of Guelph and County Wellington. And then in the evenings, go and provide discounted or free meals with the revenues from the full price meals in communities at risk and in need. So really trying to take a mobile kitchen approach to provide ongoing food relief where possible. We've put a focus on urban agriculture. In 2020, we led an urban agriculture challenge that awarded $106,000 to 10 different community food projects in the city of county that have delivered close to 2,200 pounds of food in the last year. We're also supporting community initiatives with newcomers. In that video, there were a number of beautiful photos of this garden, and this comes from this program, Food from Home, Food for Home, which brings together new Canadian communities to grow a range of crops and fruits and vegetables that aren't typically grown in North America. So creating a new community collaboration around food. And we thank Food from Home for letting us use so much of their site in our video. We're also launching work in regenerative farming. There's been a number of speakers today. Gillian earlier in the morning did a really fantastic job on this. And we're hoping in the next year to pull out some very interesting work in this space. Our colleagues in the County of Wellington are launching an experimental acres pilot where they'll be working with up to 24 farms to explore regenerative farming techniques. We're also launching a place-based carbon market study where we will work with the Suzuki Foundation starting this spring to understand where local agriculture can fit into the carbon market. Many folks have spoke today about carbon offsets and where this can fit. But of course, there's platforms in the States like Indigo Ag, where larger farms are able to realize economic benefits when they're practicing regenerative techniques. Unfortunately, a lot of those processes don't really work for the size and scale of farms that we have in Guelph and Wellington County. So a lot of this work will look to understand how can we translate the carbon market to farms and to regenerative practices in our space, and also apply it to companies that are upcycling food and realizing new value from food waste rather than sending it to compost or landfill. And I should also note on the experimental acres pilot I mentioned previously that I know there's been conversations to get farms from Grey County as well as Dufferin County in on our project in the growing season for 2023. So we look forward to that as well. So moving on, I want to tell you a little bit about what we're doing with businesses. So one of the largest sources of food waste is the IC&I sector. So institutional, commercial, and industrial. And the biggest challenge in this space is that they typically have no municipal collection or diversion of organic waste. And if you're an individual restaurant, it makes no sense for you to ask waste management to come and collect your cuttings because you would have to pay for that truck to come to you and then to go back. There's no routing or benefits of scale. So in this program, which is being led by the Circular Innovation Council, they're really trying to create that benefit. They're working with Second Harvest and creating systems for food that can be rescued to be rescued on a regular basis, and then food that can't to be collected and composted. We're also collecting some really interesting data from this space as well. If you look at waste in the IC&I sector, it's really a bit of a black box right now. No one knows what comes out of daycares or seniors' homes or multi-residential buildings right now because it typically goes to landfill. So we're hoping to get lots of really interesting data out of this that then we're working with the provincial government on when they contemplate things like landfill bans and new cooperative structures like this, which could scale to support new models of organic waste diversion. We're also doing a lot to support new B2B collaborations. The image behind this screen was from an initiative called the Circular Meal, where collaborators of ours at Provision worked with Wellington Brewery and sent some of their grain to a local insect farm. Then that insect farm sent some of their insect feed to a local fish farm. That local fish farm sent some of its poop to a local potato farm as fertilizer, as well as sent the fish to a group of restaurants locally run by the neighborhood group. There was also some of the grain went to produce a circular bun made with upcycled brewery grain. So the result of this was 3 restaurants with 3 fully circular meals where all of the ingredients on the plate contributed to the other and were served with a Wellington beer. That's just a pilot, but it's an example of the type of local regional collaborations that we can build to support circularity within a region. And we're looking to scale this up. We've been working with NGen, the Advanced Manufacturing Supercluster out of Hamilton, for the last year or so on a food hub feasibility study around Guelph and Wellington County. And we're at the point of taking this forward now. And if you see this sort of circular map over on the left-hand side of the screen, there was a huge amount of research in that, really understanding what are B2B links within our region. What are the natural hubs that already exist where people, where businesses are intersecting and working together? And what are the capabilities or resources that we need to create more of this circular integration within our region? And the result is this idea of a food hub and leadership network, which we're in the process of finalizing the report for, and we hope to move forward in the future. Now, when we think about circular businesses, there's a tremendous amount of interest in making sustainable, purpose-based circular businesses from, many existing businesses, but especially from entrepreneurs. At the start of our program, we launched a micro grant program called Seeding Our Food Future, where we gave $2,500 to local businesses to become more circular. We had spots for 40 businesses in that program, but we received over 80 applications just from within our region. And we received huge interest from across Ontario and beyond that. So we worked those 40 businesses through that program over the course of a year. And then we worked with FedDev Ontario to say there's tremendous demand here. In the existing innovation space, there's funding for things like clean tech, but circular economy is a little different because we're talking about business models and we're talking about techniques of upcycling that aren't necessarily technology based. So working with FedDev, approximately a year ago, we got an additional $5 million in funding to launch COIL, which is the program that I'm now leading now. And COIL is aiming to develop and prototype transformative solutions that can scale and help move Canada towards a more circular economy. Now, important to note that our programs are open to businesses across Southern Ontario, including Grey County. So if anyone is interested in any of this stuff, we would love to work with you. And I'll note that this program is delivered in very close partnership with our amazing colleagues at Innovation Guelph, Tennessee, and Anthesis Provision. So since last fall, we have launched 4 different business accelerator programs. We have Activate and Evolve, which are more or less traditional business accelerator programs. Businesses in Activate get access to $30,000 in funding and financing, as well as mentorship. And in Evolve, they receive approximately $7,000 in funding and financing. And in both of these, they also receive education from a globally connected circular economy curriculum that my colleagues at Innovation Guelph have pulled together. It really is a way to learn from experts around the world and connect into an amazing community as people are growing businesses that are circular. While those two focus on growing circular businesses, the Circulate CoLab is focused on spurring new circular economy innovations across a supply chain. So the way it works is this. We put out a challenge for teams of between 2 to 7 companies to come in with an idea to embed circularity into their supply chain or do some sort of innovation that will reduce emissions. From that, we select the top 3 to 5 teams and give them $20,000 over 16 weeks to prototype a solution. At the end of that, they pitch it to an expert committee, which is made up of senior executives at organizations like Tim Hortons and Sobeys and Deloitte and some real people with deep industry knowledge and expertise. And coming out of that, the best ideas have the potential to receive an additional $100,000 in additional funding to scale their prototype into a full demonstration project. We ran our first round of this from November to February this past year. We had 5 teams consisting of 21 companies total. All of them were testing some new technology in what they were doing in a supply chain, be it testing on a milk line to consumer packaging changes. A number of them identified new patentable materials because they took a leap, they tried something, it failed, they discovered a whole new idea that they could actually develop a patent for. So it's been a very exciting process for us. And if anyone's interested, our next group of this closes on April 8th. So check out our website if you think you might be interested in applying. And lastly, our Repurpose Incubator works closely with companies using our colleagues at Anthesis Provision to go into organizations, audit what they're doing, reduce food waste where possible, and turn unavoidable food waste into new products or collaborations. They did an amazing project last fall working with one of the largest tofu manufacturers in Canada. And there's a waste stream in tofu called okara, which typically goes down the drain or goes to animal feed. And they worked with a number of startups who turned that okara into things ranging from chocolate chip muffins to ramen noodles to miso pastes and several other things. Coming out of that, several of those companies now have sales with national grocery chains in excess of $8 million in the next year. So this is a product and an upcycled category that frankly didn't exist before last fall. And now these businesses are looking at millions of dollars in national sales. So it's a really exciting thing. And I think it really speaks to this idea of the opportunity of the circular economy. Just to share a few other stories of the companies that we've worked with in our first 6 months in this program, we had 40 companies in our first cohort from October to this month. And they were from the GTA, Hamilton, our own region, and beyond. And a few ideas are really exciting and shows the scalability that we're kind of looking to build. So Spent Goods is a Toronto-based company that can effectively go into any community where there is a brewery and a bakery, which is just about every community, and bring in tested recipes and proven marketing and sales techniques to create a range of opportunities from upcycled spent brewing grain. So crackers, pizza crusts, cereals, breads, a range of different proven solutions that can really help turn this waste wherever you are into new products at the local level. Abakichi is an amazing company that is working in that sort of upcycled tofu space. They've developed things like ramen noodles that fed into a circular meal kit, which are absolutely delicious. The final two come out of our collab program. So Greenhouse Juice out of Toronto led a team of companies around upcycling all of the juice pulp that comes out of their operations. So they're using processes, using enzymes, and then actually working with another one of our companies who they randomly connected with, using yeasts and fermentation to develop a whole new suite of products. And so Greenhouse developed some really interesting outcomes of that, and they're receiving $100,000 now to scale up their prototype they developed in 12 weeks into a full demonstration project. And last, speaking to some of the social aspects, we're working with the St. James Community Co-op, which is partnered with Collegia and then a number of other technology companies to develop a zero waste, fully circular aquaponics solution that can fit into the apartments in the St. James community. St. James community in Toronto, for those of you who don't know, is a lower income neighborhood just kind of north of Regent Park. It has significant food access issues, and these new farms, which are about the size of a Billy bookcase from IKEA, are capable of producing approximately $400 worth of microgreens and fish per farmer. And they're really supporting this community co-op made up of new immigrants. So they also were winners in our first round of this collab process and are getting additional funding to scale that up into a demonstration project. Beyond our funding programs, we've also introduced a range of different tools that are available to any business as part of our business toolkit. So we have a circular business passport that you can access through our website, coil.eco, that really connects businesses with leaders at Innovation Guelph who help them navigate a range of different circular opportunities or circular economy opportunities as they try to transform their business. The Resource Exchange Marketplace is a free B2B market for waste materials. I'll actually show you a screen grab of that right now, if you don't mind. This is what it looks like when you log in. And if it takes me in, you can see it functions a lot like a Craigslist, where what we're trying to do here is really surface those materials. And we have humans behind the scene who are trying to build B2B connections with other businesses, where once we've identified waste that can be upcycled, we are sure we can find other businesses that can use that. And it's all the key of making people think about what they have and how someone else could potentially use that. So this is free to use. I encourage anyone who's interested to go and check that out. And Sorry. We have a social finance fund, Harvest Impact, which is really some of our secret sauce because it helps us as a municipality deliver many of these programs. And then we're also launching a free Circular Economy 101 course in the fall with the University of Guelph and Civic, which is out of the University of Montreal, which will provide baseline understandings for businesses of the opportunities in the circular economy. Beyond this, we've really created an urban-rural circular economy testbed here, where we have hundreds of organizations that are all interested in this. We have a community that is excited about the circular economy, and we have governments that have made growing the circular economy a priority, not just from a solid waste perspective, which it is, but also from an economic development perspective and from a climate perspective. So as a whole of government, we see this as really our space on the innovation corridor and something that we can do to grow a beneficial future. And building on that, while we have focused on food, we were also looking at what else we could do. We have a process and a model that we know works very well for food, and we've started to think, how can we do that for other sectors of the economy? So this past January, we announced the launch of our Zero Waste Economic Transformation Lab. And this is funded by a donation by the Cooperators, which is a national insurance company. And we are going to work with them over the next year and a bit on creating all the same things we've done in food, focused on construction, renovation, and demolition materials. So right now, we are moving into doing that same flow analysis, working with our same partners to understand the materials that we have access to understand what are the causes of waste and where are the biggest bang for a buck in terms of emissions. And then by next fall, we hope to be launching into a range of different interventions, similar to what we've done in food, to increase recycling, upcycling, and new business opportunities around construction. And just as a very last piece, there's some new upcoming projects we're launching in the next 6 months that I think might be of interest to businesses locally as well. So first, we are looking to bring upcycled certification to Canada. This is an international standard developed out of the US that signifies a particular percentage of that product is upcycled. So it's a consumer-facing standard similar to fair trade or no GMO. And we hope to have between 10 and 14 products that we've worked with certified as upcycled and to launch that brand in Canada sometime this summer. This fall, we're going to be working with the Ivy Business School out of Western to host between 30 and 60 food businesses to go through a circular systems design course. So this will be an opportunity to go through a number of different workshops with the Ivy Business School, to work with faculty and grad students to develop circular business plans, to connect with other colleagues and potential collaborators within your region, and to come out of it at the other side next spring with a circular business plan and pitch for funding from COIL to stand up some prototypes and demonstration projects. So we're starting recruitment for that very shortly. So if anyone's interested, please reach out. And last, like I said, what we want to do here is we want to scale. And so we are looking to turn COIL into a network across Ontario and nationally. So work with other communities, other innovation centers to really follow similar approaches and really grow circular economy and circular innovation across the country to really move Canada much further in this and create this as the business opportunity of the next century. So that's everything. If you'd like to get in touch, my email is there. Our website is coil.eco and our Twitter is coil_CE. Thank you so much. And please, I welcome any questions.
Amazing. There were about 75 different concepts in there, and I'm excited about all of them. Thank you, David, for sharing this with us. I am excited about downloading your slide deck so that I can take a look at everything again and see. I'm waiting for questions to come in, and what I would like to do is ask you, David, because you've told us a lot about what you have to offer in terms of programs. What is your greatest need in terms of participation? What are you looking for most right now, and how can people in our area best partner and participate and cooperate with you? What are you looking for most right now?
I think we're looking for organizations that can look at what they can do, because we have money. We would love to fund lots of stuff. Considering our funder FedDev is amazing and wonderful, but it's hard to fund startups necessarily through some of those channels. But when businesses work together, when you can find ways to take the waste of one organization and to turn that into something new, if people are thinking about that and then they come to us, we would love to find ways to work with you, and we will really do our best to do that. So I think, creating opportunities for B2B collaboration and thinking about creating new products, new services using circular approaches, I think that's some of the biggest thing that we are looking for. And then, in terms of growth, we're talking to colleagues across the country and trying to figure out what makes sense as a strategy as you approach different funders and levels of government. But yeah, I think just really building the momentum of this movement is really the key thing, because we can do a little bit, but it has to be about the community. Right.
I know that over my years working for Grey County, I've seen a number of small businesses try to start up with using what's previously been considered agricultural or food-related waste and create them into consumer products, and fail on different axes. And it's really exciting to know that there's now actually an organization that understands and is dedicated to doing this specifically. What I'm curious to know is, do you have staff who might be able to help facilitate if we were to do some kind of networking or gathering of food and like farm and food businesses that want to find ways to collaborate together? Because I would love to make that happen if that's a possibility. I can host a networking event. Do you have staff that can speak to that to help us understand how to expedite that process?
We would love to help out wherever we can. It comes down to businesses are experts in their own business, right? And so far be it for me to tell anyone how they should run and grow their own business. But I think a lot of what we're doing is to try and create some of these platforms that can facilitate that. So I showed Resource Exchange, which is free, which anyone can put anything on. We'd be very happy to create a specific section of that just for Grey County if there's interest and enthusiasm there. And a platform like that doesn't have to even serve as an exchange. It can serve as a sharing economy platform. So we think about a big problem between exchanges is cold storage space often. But then there's organizations that may have excess cold storage space and could make that available, or a canning line they only use 2 days a week that someone else could access for other times. So creating some of that resource sharing is also part of this. So we are trying to introduce platforms, educational tools that I mentioned, that we can make as open as possible, but definitely willing to help. I'd encourage anyone who's interested, please check out our Business Passport program, check out Resource Exchange. We have a mailing list, so we'll let you sign up when our 101 course is available with the University of Guelph. And also, I'll just flag again that program with the Ivy Business School, which I think we're looking for businesses that aren't startups. We want things that are a little beyond the startup phase in that, but I think there's huge opportunity there to work with some real amazing global experts. Ivy is a leader in sustainable business around the world. They're actually amazing. And our team will be supporting that as well. So another opportunity to flag.
I'm really excited about all of that, and you're reminding me that my own agri-food asset map, which I believe you referred to, could integrate a lot of these programs and companies and organizations into our own mapping so that we continue to share the information. I am surprised that I don't see questions, but I think others might be in the same position I'm in, which is just overwhelmed with the sheer amount of ideas and projects and initiatives that you are creating and supporting, and I am deeply appreciative. And because everyone likes to head out a little early, I'm just going to say, David, thank you so much for sharing this with us and spending your time with us today, and we will continue to share information 2 ways, and I hope we'll be able to see some really interesting partnerships between your programs and producers and processors and other organizations in Grey County in the future. We're very, very excited to be close neighbors and to be able to take advantage of this.